Well, good evening, everybody. We are back. Welcome to the TSRC x oNiD iR-04 Sprint. The F4 cars have returned. We're in Tuscany for the second round of the championship. It is the Autodromo del Mugello, a brilliant circuit here in Italy. One of the very finest in Italian motorsport. The 5 kilometer circuits is what our drivers will be attacking to go and take some big points in the championship. We have had a really fun Snetterton round with a couple of drivers popping in and some of them dropping out. But let's go over to the calendar so we can see what we have on offer. We have gone to the UK round here at Snetterton to kick the season off, and we've had our little break whilst a lot of things have been going on behind the scenes for all of us and all the drivers. We now arrive in Mugello to go for the second stint of our three-part European leg before we then head to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. The Virginia International Raceway will be on the 12th of August. That is going to be a superb circuit to host before we then go into rounds 5 and round 6, where we have on the same day Circuit Gilles Villeneuve and Suzuka Circuit. Our drivers will be tackling pretty much for the first time, I think ever, 2 circuits in one night. How incredible is that going to be? And there's going to be some serious championship numbers to be calculated at this range. Here in the championship standings then, it is Zach Sweeney in the pro standings, leading on 55 points. He leads 10 over Janos Wenzel. Oliver Stone in P3, followed by Craig Dordock, who comes in 4. Then it's Ben Crook, followed by Reese Saunders and Andrew Pike, with Ian Ranking there in P8. Bart Raven and Jay Walsh rounding out your top 10, with Paul Smith just a point in behind Nick Clippens and Hayden Miller. Then we find Louis Lopez, followed by Bobby Moss. Unfortunately, didn't get a point and did not start. For Harry Shaw, Noah Osbaldeston, and Simon Norton. Harry Shaw as well. I think I've got a couple of names wrong on my little spreadsheet there. But there you go. That was our Pro Championship. So as I say, Moss, Osbaldeston, a couple of drivers there not getting points. Here are your amateurs then. It is going to be Josiah Annis at the top of the standing, 55 points. He's won over Will Ellis, who got a really good couple of podiums there. Last time out, Alex Richards got a 3rd place and a fastest lap in the second race at Snetterton. Josh Hodson in P4, followed by Harry Mason and Thomas Lowe, with Lenny Hansen and Gareth Ronda. Tony Preston will be in 9th, followed by Thomas Martin in 10th. It's James Radford, Danny Morris, Cameron Homewood with no points. Jarrett Page with no points there, with Aidan Howard and Ben Holmes. So 5 of the drivers on no points in a championship. They're very easy to pick up, but of course some of those drivers did not attend the race. We are now ticking our way down to qualifying here. 3 laps for our drivers, and it's currently at the top of the standings. It is Noah Osbaldeston, the youngster for the Drive Lounge Racing team. He is now into the session. Will hopefully be going for glory for the Drive Lounge Racing team, which had their 2 victory their success off the back of. That was Zach Sweeney's success at his home event, so he had a bit of local knowledge. I don't think anyone here has any local knowledge to Misano this time around, so this is going to be it's completely interesting and really intriguing to see how these all kind of go about. So I'll be interested to see what these guys get to kind of in a way, see how they can work everything out, because this circuit is very difficult. There's so much to look forward to with this one. We now take on board here with Oliver Stone for the Altitude 3M Esports team in with a fantastic pedigree within sim racing. So I can really see the there's going to be some really strong drivers in all of this. Of course, we recently had the Italian F4 Championship, the IRL Italian F4 Championship recently go there. There has been some really, really good winners, potentially by some future single-seater worldwide famous names. We'll have to see how their careers all pan out. So after 2 weeks delay, I kind of really nicely joined with that event here, but we'll see what these drivers can do. Look at that, Tom Davidson on 2 personal bests on his lap. James Bradford in stays ninth. What about Oliver Stone? He stays second. I think Tom Davidson didn't quite get an improvement there. Ian Rankin also 3 personal bests. So these laps are going to come in pretty thick and fast here. And remember, it's a 5-kilometer circuit, and then of course we'll have to reach Spa-Francorchamps. So expect some big times there. There goes the number 7 over the timing line. I think that's Simon Norton going to P13, but Bradford there going to 10. So times constantly coming in there. Nick Clibben's going in with a 150.9, but at the moment it's still Noah Osbaldeston with a 150.221 for the Drive Lounge Racing team. The Altitude 3M Esports driver of Oliver Stone, 154.9 for him last time around, but their best time was separated by just under 3/10 of a second. That is the number 88 of Josh Hodson, making his way over the timing beam. Does he improve himself? He does. He goes and does a 152.1, puts himself up into the top 12, but an improvement there from, I think, that was Ben Crook, 151.1 to go 9/10 of a second adrift of Noah Osbaldeston. So there's a lot of times here where you can make up some time, lose a lot of time here and there. So it's about what these drivers are capable of. I don't think Mugello's really used. So I think this might be the first time I'm actually being able to cover Mugello, which is going to be a super interesting one for me. Oliver Stone was recently purple in the first sector, but that has been taken over by another driver, so we'll have to see who that is about. Over the timing line, we've got Bradford coming to the line now in his car, and there goes Oliver Stone, goes to the top. It's a 150.212 for the Briton for the Altitude 3M Esports driver, going 8,000ths of a second in front of Noah Osbaldeston. A really good time, but Noah Osbaldeston takes it back with an even more convincing lap. It's 3.5 tenths to the good, and that is really just stamping his authority. The Drive Lounge Racing team know how to put in laps. They know the chemistry between the team is absolutely incredible. Just ask any of their drivers. Noah Osbaldeston, Josiah Annis, Zach Sweeney is one to ask as well. They are completely in tune with each other, and they push each other to the limit. Aiden Howard has just gone to 19th. Decent lap time from the oNiD Racing team. So we'll have to see if he can maybe go up a little bit further in the rankings. But I think he's had 3 lap times here. Alex Richards will come over the timing line. I think that won't be a big improvement there. Only to 11th. We've got Ian Rankin, Janos Wenzel, Ben Crook. All looking for improvement. Ranking down there in 12th. We ride on board with the all-black car. The privateer will turn his way through this right-hander of what is pretty much Corantanio, and then onto Bodetti, and then onto Bushin. The final corner here at Mugello. Down in towards this left-hander, trying to stick into the middle of the circuit, but then you've got to try and pick up the power and use all of the X you've got on your right-hand side. It's a real fine balance for these drivers, and Ian Rankin will make his way across the line. Is he going to be able to go any faster than what he's doing at the moment? It's a 151.4, his best time so far. He'll cross the timing line. I don't think that was an improved lap there. Nothing's come up on my screen, so potentially an invalidator lap there from Ian Rankin. So he may have gone off at some point, but that is going to be qualifying down to your checkered flag. Nobody's out at the moment, because everyone has done their 3 laps that they were meant to do. Fantastic qualifying session It's going to be Noah Osbaldeston on pole position in here. Now we find Oliver Stone. He'll be alongside Craig. He'll be with Craig Torda, with Janis Wenzel on the second row of the grid. Josiah Anderson, Tom Davidson will be 5th and 6th. Nick Clibbens will be 7th with Bart Raven. And then Bobby Moss and Ben Crook will be 9th and 10th. It'll be Alex Richardson 11th, followed by Ian Rankin and James Stone Radford in 13th. He'll be alongside Josh Hodson. Will Ellis with the Biscotti team in 15th, with Tony Preston in 16th. Paul Smith, Simon Norton with Aidan Howard and Harry Mason rounding out the top 20. And then we move a little bit further down. We find Thomas Martin, Danny Morris, and Thomas Lowe. No time set here for the privateer, so I wonder if he will be out or if he's going to go down as a no starter, which will be a difficult one, because if he is going down as a no starter, then SimGrid will automatically give you a -5. You can get to -15 before you then get disqualified from the championship. So that will be something to take into consideration for this one. So now as the Mugello Circuit does go a little bit quiet for now, he will just wait until the start of the race. Everyone does wait to load in. So as I said, it's going to be a really interesting championship with 6 rounds in this season. Of course, we've got that triple header of Seston, Mugello, and Spa-Francorchamps. Again, some really interesting circuits to host. You know, Seston really quick, Mugello and Spa, and now here we are on the grid. We've got Virginia, Montreal, and Suzuka to round off the grid. It's going to be Noah Osbaldeston on pole position. It is going to be James. It's going to be Oliver Stone alongside, and we wait for the lights to come and light up above these sim races. There'll be a lot of tension because there are going to be big points in the offer. Oliver Stone can take the championship lead if he gets a good result here. He doesn't need to do too much, in fact, because he sits on 42 points compared to Zach Sweeney's 55. So I think of 14 points, which would be a 7th. That would take him into the championship lead, unless Janis Wenzel has anything to go by that, because they are separated by 3 points. So if he can get 4 points over Wenzel and then 14 over Sweeney, that should pretty much wrap it. Well, I say wrap it up. That will take him to the championship league for the first time this season. Of course, Zach Sweeney not being here tonight gives him a big advantage. So whatever the fellow commentator is up to, Zach, I wish you all the best for whatever you're doing, and hopefully you're enjoying this race, hopefully with a big grin at the end. But clutch is on, build the revs, watch for the lights, and we go racing for the first time in Mugello. It's a great start there from Noah Osbaldeston, but immediately in towards the slipstream goes Oliver Stone. They launch their way off the line and head in towards San Donato for the first time in this race. They all start to fan out and see if they can find any form of space. Craig Tordock looking to try and get a gap here, and he's managed to go up to 3rd over Janis Wenzel. They'll turn their way in towards 2 of Luco and then onto Mugello Circuit, really trying to find any form of places. Somebody's wide there in the back, and that might be Jason Hodson. So a little bit of an unfortunate moment for him. But we now look through the left and right-handers of Maserati and Borgo San Lorenzo. Now down towards Casanova and Savelli in this sweeping section. Looks to be all clean for now, unless we've lost a couple of drives. I think James Radford has been involved in a little incident, but they'll make their way through the right-hander here of the 2 Arrabbiatas, before making their way into Scarperia and Pelagio. A couple of maneuvers being made, side-by-side action all throughout the field here. Janis Wenzel still 4th, Tom Davidson 5th, Nick Clibbens in 6th, Josiah Annis in P8, in P7 there for the drive landers. Here goes Bobby Moss trying to go on the outside line to try and see if he can nip a position away from the Ferrari livery. I think that's potentially Raven, but they're going to be side by side down toward the final corner of Buccin. But through they head on towards the brakes here. It's the 8 up against the 5. It's Ben Crook against Bobby Moss. And Ben Crook has managed to sail that around the outside. But now comes a long, long run down towards San Donato in what is a hot, hot space for overtaking. Four cars in a line. It's Raven from Crook, from Moss, from Richards in the battle for P8. Bit of a move there from Raven as he now looks to go defensive. I think Ben Crook's going to try and look on the outside, get squeezing toward that inside for Bobby Moss. But this is some fantastic battles, but most notably, they are going to be losing a little bit of time to the drivers up ahead. So Josiah Annis can breathe a sigh of relief because he's now got what is, I think, a second to these drivers. And it looks like now Nick Clibben's trying to get involved in a big battle here. Number 85 just behind Janus Wenzel, who's been overtaken here by Tom Davidson. So Davidson has managed to put himself up into 4th. Now he's going to try and see if he can go on the chase of Craig Tordock. Tordock 1.1 seconds behind race leader Osbalderson. I think Oliver Stone is going to stay in contention here as well because he's less than 4/10 of a second to the Britons' rear. This was a little bit further back, and this is Josh Hodson going up the inside of one of the Dorf fellas. A bit of a moment there for Hodson. He tries to slide the car around, but didn't quite make the move there on Harry Mason. So they go into Quarantario. Just have to see if some of these are looking at maybe making a couple more maneuvers. We spoke to some of the drivers last week. It was what, 2-3 weeks ago now that Snetterton happened, and they were saying that tyres were definitely something to keep an eye out for. So that's going to be something to keep a close eye on, especially at a circuit like Mugello. Meanwhile, Bart Raven under attack here from Ben Crook. Crook's going to try that outside line in his all yellow Ferrari livery. They'll try and cut to the outside. Brilliant racing between Ben Crook and the crack racing driver here of Bart Raven. I think now Bobby Moss are going to try and get involved with the Sim Racing Collective esports team, making their way through that fast right-hander of Borgo San Lorenzo before then going to Casanova and Savelli. Two really fast sequence of corners. It's still Osbalderson from Oliver Stone, from Tordock, from Davidson, from Wenzel. That's your top 5 so far, but this is being the main battle because they're all just chugging and training along with each other. There will be a little bit of dirty air going into proceedings, so this will be something to really take into consideration. We look now look with the Drive Lounge racing driver of Noah Osbalderson, of course, has recently come out of karts in the last couple of years at national level. I don't think he did international, but most definitely has done races at likes of Wilton Mill and the likes of Kim Bolton, I believe, but maybe other places as well. He is a superb, strong driver. Now we look back towards the latter stages of the top half because we've got Josiah Annis on the fringes of the top 10. I wonder if he's had maybe a little bit of an error. I thought I saw him a little bit further up the standings, but now dropped down to P10. So Josiah Annis, who is really trying to learn some racecraft in this championship. We now hit what is 9 minutes left to go. Alex Richards trying to see if he can pierce a gap on the inside line, thread the eye of the needle. If we look back here, more batting going on because we've got Alex Richards now with what is Will Ellis. Will Ellis is going to go ahead in that number 22, the Sim Racing Collective Esports car, which is I think the darkest blue you can get, it seems, according to that livery. So they'll continue to go line astern in that one. But yeah, it's been a pretty quick race so far. You know, nothing out of the ordinary has been committed by any of these drivers, but I think they're all just waiting because with this circuit, it really does punish the tyres. There's so many long corners in this one, because you know you've got the likes of San Donato, you've got the likes of turn 3, turn 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12. That's really pushing the left-handers, and it's also pushing the right through 2, through 7, through 9, through 15. So yeah, both tires are getting punished at the same time. Looks like Ian Ranking here is going to look up the inside for P15 on Harry Mason. So Mason having to drop another place there. He's going to be under pressure now from Josh Hodson as they continue to fly their way through 13 and 14. Two really quick section of corners. I do kind of miss watching, Formula One cars go through here. It was back in 2020 where they had the Tuscany Grand Prix. We all know what happened in 2020, which was the cause of this race happening. So in the end, they did manage to get a Grand Prix here in Mugello, and it was absolutely spectacular. The speed that those cars were carrying were unbelievable. But Bart Raven now going back to this main race is under pressure and being overtaken here by Bobby Moss. And they are switching all sorts this way, that way. And it's been absolutely fantastic to see. Biggest gainer so far, Paul Smith. He's gone up 4 to 13, but another one up 5 to Thomas Lowe. He started last. And now Thomas Lowe is at the moment in 18's biggest loser in all this is, James Radford, who got caught up in an incident, and Simon Norton, who I think also got caught up in an incident, but currently who's running in quite a high position, Josiah Annis. So he's made an error at some point. We see dust getting flicked up behind everyone here. There goes up the inside, just as I spoke about him. Josiah Annis has become very animated all over the rear here of Raven. Now he's got to be careful here because he's got Alex Richards on the inside line. Richards is going to get boxed in here by the number 51 of Bart Raven. Oh, Josiah Annis almost onto the grass. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum here. Is he going to keep ahead of Alex Richards here? Richards is going to have to be on that outside line, so may be able to carry a bit more speed unless he gets squeezed here. But looks like Annis is going to drop down to 11, take the tighter line. Meanwhile, Will Ellis in behind is going to be able to get what is, I think, a quadruple toe down towards San Donato. This is going to be an amazing first race here, as here comes Noah Osbaldeston. He has just been overtaken on that main straight, but the late braking from the Drive Lounge racing driver has managed to see him pick his way up back into the lead. But it's an all guns blazing fight for P1 between Osbaldeston, but he's invited Oliver Stone and Craig Twardock into the picture, and maybe there is a letter coming soon for Tom Davidson to invite him into the fight, because we're now into the final 5 minutes. Not long left to go. The fastest lap of the race, 150.025 from Oliver Stone. And look how close the Altitude 3M Esports driver is getting to the back here of Noah Osbaldeston. How is Osbaldeston going to get this one? We could see a fantastic run to the line. We saw this in the opening round at Snetterton. But what will Mugello be like? Because do you really want to be the one leading going on towards this last lap? Or do you just want to be sitting in behind, making a move on that last lap down into something like San Donato, and then trying to pull out a gap before then having that slipstream battle all the way down toward the first corner? So it's Osbaldeston from Stone, from Twardock, from Davidson, who is starting to gain a little bit on this little battle. Clibbins in 5th, Crook in 6th, Wenzel down to 7th. Poor effort from the German, I do apologise, but starting up in the lofty heights of what I think was P4, now down to P7. Now it's Moss from Raven from Annis, but here we go now. The 3M Esports driver of Oliver Stone now going to try late braking down in towards San Donato. But Noah Osbaldeston says, absolutely no, you don't, my friend. You're not coming past me. Osbaldeston retains the lead for now, but how often is that going to work? Because when you go down a straight, these cars act as absolute missiles punching a hole in the air, and it's just easier for the drivers in behind. And as we tick down to what is now for the last 3 minutes of this race, it is just going to get just that little bit more aggressive, a little bit more risk rewarding. That balance is really in swinging every single corner. Oliver Stone just sticking in the slipstream of Noah Osbaldiston. Bearing in mind, this is Noah Osbaldiston's first race here. He didn't compete last time out at Snetterton and left his duties to Zach Sweeney and his teammate Josiah Annis, and now we find ourselves in a really top heated battle between the two. Of course, Oliver Stone did take a second with the fastest lap in the opening race, and he's set to do that again. We now look quickly to Bart Raven, who is now gaining here on Bobby Moss. So that is the battle for 8th, 9th, and this is between Will Ellis and Josiah Annis, I believe. With that, no, that's Ellis and Richards. So Richards just forcing out there Will Ellis in the Biscotti team. They'll make their way down towards the last corner. What is the gap here? Let's have a look down at the front here, because that's less than a tenth of a second, and I suspect now this could be a clear-cut opportunity for Oliver Stone. This is probably the earliest he's overtaken. Now, Noah Osbaldiston's going to have to think about Craig Tordock here. Craig Tordock now on the extreme inside. We head our way down towards the first corner. They're 3 abreast. I think Tordock just had to back out of that one because he knew there was going to be damage. Osbaldiston on the inside for turn number 3, but I think Oliver Stone now going to try and just hold it as he makes his way on towards the back straight here, through the left and the right before we head our way towards the tricky corners. That's some really good battling. Remember that invitation that was sent over to Tom Davidson? Well, he's received it. There it is. 4 cars for the battle of the lead. Let's just stick with this for now, because this could be to the end of the race. I didn't quite check the time to when they crossed the line, because they were now doing 151. I can tell you the times. It's 151.5 for Osbaldiston, 151.4 for Stone, 151.3 for Craig Tordock. Tom Davidson did a 50.9. So that is the opportunities that Tom Davidson is getting. He is being able to have free air, but now he is pushing way too hard, having a little bit of a run into the gravel, but it's now going to be a run through the left and on towards the right here. Noah Osbaldiston is looking for his first victory and a second for the Drive Lounge Racing team, but they've got 1 corner here to negotiate, and Oliver Stone is going to be on him like a rash. He's got to try and get that throttle down. He's using all of the exits on towards the timing line, and it is going to be Noah Osbaldiston to the line, but here comes Oliver Stone. They're going to close out the line. It's going to be a dead heat, but it's Noah Osbaldiston. No, it's Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone, I think, has taken it. No, he hasn't, because we've just hit 1 more lap to go. Through the right-hander, it's Osbaldiston, still on that inside line. And Oliver Stone, we ride on board with the 3M Altitude Esports driver. Apologies, team, because I messed up that wording completely. So I'll hopefully do it better next time around. But Oliver Stone is really fighting tooth and nail for what could be a first win of the campaign for him. Craig Tordock is sitting pretty in 3rd. The only 2 drivers with wins this season are Zach Sweeney, who isn't here, and of course Janus Wenzel, who's down there in P7. So that was a really close run, but I think I know what Oliver Stone is doing. He is setting up that run. He now knows how close he needs to be in order to be able to get that maneuver on Noah Osbaldiston, but I think Osbaldiston might have a good advantage here. It's just about the exit off this next right-hander. They'll try and just push the car. How risky do you want to be on your pedals? Is Oliver Stone now close enough? I don't think Tordock or Davidson are going to have an answer for this. They have just slightly lost the train here. that will be able to put them in the fight for the lead. But this is now going to be the run to the line. We've had 9 incredible laps. A slide there for Noah Osbalderson. How defensive is he going to be towards the line? The checkered flag is going to be out this time around. Is it going to be Osbalderson? Is it going to be Stone? No answer from Stone. It's Noah Osbalderson to take victory in Mugello. It is a fantastic, fantastic moment for them, and a second win for the Drive Lounge Racing team. Ian Rankin is now going to try and get a driver on the line here. This is the battle for 14 with Tony Preston. Over the line they go, and it is Preston from Rankin by what is, I believe, half a tenth of a second. But it is Osbalderson from Stone from Tordok, your top 3. Aidan Howard for the oNiD Racing team, batting away for 20th. Of course, Aidan Howard is an actual producer for another championship for Apex Racing TV. So welcome aboard, Aidan. It's good to have you. And our favourite Arnie Schwarzenegger impersonator as well. He's just trying to get a little bit more toe, but over the line. Unfortunately, in 20th, I think James Radford is having a few issues down at the back. Because I think, in fact, he has just maybe been lapped here. He is now finished. Simon Norton retires on that second lap of the race. We now go into our warm-up in what has been an incredible opening race to our season. And that will now see the results here. It's 0.2 of a second with the advantage. Noah Osbalderson won over Oliver Stone, but I do believe that has taken Oliver Stone to the lead of the Drivers' Championship. What a fantastic way to do it. Craig Twardock will come home in 3rd. It's a great podium there for Craig, and I'm sure he'll be quite delighted about it, but he'll want to try and really fight forward. But that was his third place in a row. He took a 3rd at Snetterton, another 3rd at Snetterton, and now he takes another one. So if he manages to get another one, then that's going to be, I think Craig Twardock is going to get a little bit annoyed about that. Tom Davison comes home in 4th, Ben Crook in P5, Nick Clibben for the Sim Racing Collective Esports team. He will head up in 6th with his teammates Janos Wenzel down in 7th. I think he's maybe struggling with the car just that little bit, so he may have to make some adjustments in the warm-up. Bobby Moss there in P8. Bart Raven, the Dutchman for the Cracked Racing team, he comes home in 9th ahead of Josiah Annis. And we find Alex Richards and Will Ellis, the 2 Piscotti teammates, in 11th and 12th. Paul Smith for the Cracked Racing team, he'll come home in 13th ahead of Tony Preston. With Ian Rankin, who were batting right towards the end, and as I said, they were about less than half a tenth of a second between each other. It's Josh Hodson in P16 with Thomas Lowe, who managed to go up to 17th after starting in the back of the grid. Harry Mason in 18th with Thomas Martin and Danny Morris in P20. And then it's Aidan Howard in P21. James Radford for the Dogs in 22nd. Simon Norton, unfortunately DNFing, as I said, on that second lap of the race. There'll be a little bit of a disgruntled effort there from Simon Norton. Not the way he would want to go about things. And of course, when you do DNF, no points are awarded. I know there are some championships out there that actually award points when, yeah. So there's some championships out there that award points even though you do not finish. There are some that you have to have a limit. So I think it's if you are over 5 laps behind the leader, then you don't get points. But if you're maybe 2 or 3 laps down, then you do still get those points. But the warm-up is done and dusted. Just 10 seconds left to go, and I don't suppose anyone is out there on the circuit. Yeah, very little drivers have gone out. I think it's just Janos Wenzel. What is he going backwards? Because his laps is just minusing in a minute. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's just a thing that Janos Wenzel is doing in the minute. But there you go, the checker flag is now out, and we will see the grid. Remember, it is a top 10 reverse, so we will throw our, fastest top 10 at the 10th, and then we'll throw our slowest kind of top 10 driver here. Here at the grid then, it's Josiah Annis for the Drive Lounge Racing team. He will start on pole position ahead of Bart Raven. It's going to be Bobby Moss alongside Janos Wenzel with Nick Clibbins in 5th and Ben Crook in 6th. Tom Davidson will be in 7th ahead of Craig Tordock as he looks to go for another 3rd place in this race with Oliver Stone and Noah Osbalderson in P10. Alex Richards will be in P11 with Will Ellis will be joining him on the All Biscotti 6th row of the grid. Paul Smith will be alongside Tony Preston with Ian Rankin and Josh Hodson. Then it'll be Thomas Lowe alongside Harry Mason. Then we go on to the 10th row where we find Thomas Martin alongside Danny Morris, Aidan Howard and James Stone Radford on the 11th row of the grid. And on the lowly 12th row, we find Simon Norton, who will look to try and get some form of points this time around after what was a dismal first race. Of course, didn't turn up for the opening round of the season at Snetterton, so he's a little bit on the back foot. So this is his first opportunity to grab points. So hopefully he'll be able to survive the race and be able to claim them. So we wait for the grid to form up then. I think we are waiting for Janos Wenzel, Noah Osbalderson. We're looking for Josh Hodson as well. Simon Norton as well down in last. So we're just waiting for those last couple of drivers to be able to get onto the grid. And then we'll be able to go for the second race here at the Autodromo Mugello Circuit. So what do I expect here? Another sequence of carnage, I think. We've got Josiah Annis and Bart Raven on the front row. Janos Wenzel is just still waiting to get loaded into the session, as is Simon Norton. So these are the last two we're just waiting upon before we then get racing for the second race of the day. But yeah, expect some real good action. If I had to point out a couple of drivers to look out for, one of them I would say Josiah Annis, starting on pole position there, the number 7. Of course, has been really growing his racecraft, despite having an I rating lower than 2000. Again, he's still a growing driver. He's got a lot of great guys around him that he can evidently learn from. I think also we've got the likes of Janos Wenzel as well. We'll see if he can really adventure himself after what was a bit of a rough first race. Then we'll have a look at who else. Craig Tordock as well down there in P8. He's been super quick, but just hasn't quite had race-leading pace. And I think also Noah Osbalderson and Oliver Stone. But clutches in, build the revs, watch for the lights. And for the second time in Mugello, we go racing. It's a fantastic start there from Josiah Annis and Bobby Moss, and an absolute howler off the line. I think just too much wheel spin and also bogging himself down. That could be all sorts of issues, but they'll now start to fan out in towards San Donato for the first time. It's also, I believe, an extended race, but it looks to be a little bit of contact. The Sim Racing Collective Esports drivers starting to get a little bit rough at the tumble in the mid-pack. 3 wide, almost 4 wide, going in towards the corner, which saw absolute carnage happen during the Formula 1 races. You've got to be careful not to do that, but they'll make their way through the right-hander and on toward the back straight here. We're making their way through left, through the right. 25 minutes will be a very long time, I think, for these drivers. So tyres is going to be something to really take into consideration. Tordock now moves his way through, and at the end of the first sector is Josiah Annis from Raven, from Clibbins, from Davison, Noah Osbalderson up to P5 ahead of Janos Wenzel as well. So some really good stuff from Noah Osbalderson. Wenzel as well. There's Osbalderson goes up the inside, I think it was, for P3. Stunning move. There's contact between two drivers there, and Janos Wenzel's been sent in towards the gravel. I think he's going to want to just leave the session at that point, because he has had a stinker in the first race. He's been hit out in the second, and that is just absolutely horror stuff from Janos Wenzel. Simon Norton never gridded up either, so yeah, a little bit of a tough one for Simon Norton. He'll have to go to Spa-Francorchamps before he can then try and score some points. But Aiden Howard making his way up into 70s +4 for him. But the biggest gainer of all is Noah Balderson, up 7 for the Drive Lounge Racing team. Now, I think he's just going to sit behind But Raven, make the move, and then maybe just defend his teammate. But look at this train. It involved 16's Howard, from Mason, from Morris, from Radford, from Lowe as well. 2x2, we see the Altitude 3M Esports car of Oliver Stoner going up the inside there. What I believe is Tom Davidson, almost rubbing tires between Ben Crook and Craig Twardock. It is an absolute frenzy out here in Mugello. Oliver Stone will look to just continue to push on, but the 3M Esports driver, right on that very inside line. I think he's going to have to just try and tuck in, unless he's able to sweep it around the outside, but I don't think he's going to be doing that. He's right on the edge of adhesion as well, but with the inside line, he managed to make the move on the 42 there of Tom Davidson. So he's now going to try and hunt down 3 seconds now to Noah Osbaldeston. That's going to be a really difficult one, because they're now going to be in a train. You just saw them for a flash in the forefront of your picture. It's Anis from Raven from Osbaldeston by 0.6 of a second. Bobby Moss in P9 there. There's contact between 2 cars. One of them's going to go sliding right off, but they managed to just about hold on. But Bobby Moss there. Oh, there's a car spun there. I wonder if that's going to be Nick Clibbins. It is one of the Sim Racing Collective Esports drivers, so that's not going to go well down well in their HQ. Right round the outside, using that kind of long line, slightly banked. If you go there, I believe it's just slightly banked to be able to give those drivers the opportunity to really work their way around, as Noah Osbaldeston has taken the lead of the race. We just unfortunately we did miss that, so I do apologize on that behalf, but Noah Osbaldeston just waltzes his way from what is P10, I think that's what, 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later, he's now made his way up into, what is now P1. So he's taken just over 4 minutes. That is just unbelievable. We know how good a driver of Noah Osbaldeston's caliber is. You don't need to mistake with his 5.5k iRacing, but I think it would be nice to have given a little bit of help to teammate Josiah Anis, but yeah, it looks like he said, well, I'm just going to overtake you, and you can do absolutely nothing about it, because I'm pretty much one of the quickest drivers in this field. So down towards the next sequence, it is currently the number 8 of Ben Crook leading the way here. I think these guys have just got to sit with each other for now, because they've got a long way to Josiah Anis there in P3. So it will be Crook from Stone, from Davidson, from Twardock. So I imagine this pack of 4 is just going to start working away with each other. I think Oliver Stone will be most definitely going after a podium here. So we'll have to see how that all comes to fruition, and they make their way over the line. Start lap 4 of this race. We now look right towards the back end of the standings, where we find now Danny Morris, who is now going after what I believe is 18th here. In fact, he is. That's Janos Wenzel trying to make his way up the order after his earlier misdemeanors. It looks like he will now try and go defensive with me. That seems to be, is that Radford potentially trying to go on through. It looks like Wenzel, Morris, Radford batting away, as well as maybe Harry Mason. Yeah, Harry Mason is the lead of that pack. We now see the number 11 appearing into the picture. That's going to be Oliver Stone. So he's managed to put himself up into 4th place, ahead of Ben Crook, ahead of Craig Twardock, Tom Davidson following in behind. So it does seem like Oliver Stone has, I hope I'm allowed to say this, but yeah, just given the birdie to the rest of that little pack and forget working together. He believes he's being held up, and he's going to now try and waltz his way up to the back of the podium trio. So they'll make their way through the right-hander down towards the latter end of the lap. Janos Wenzel now puts himself up into 16. Now, next on his hit list is going to be Aidan Howard, who is, as I say, a producer on Apex Racing. So very much big up to Aidan Howard for getting involved in this race. But we now look back to some more batting, because this is Will Ellis trying the long way around in what I think is a defensive manoeuvre against Bobby Moss here. This is going to be the Biscotti driver against the TSRC esports driver. I think he's going to get a big toe down towards San Donato here. Lurking in the background as well is Josh Hodson in the number 88. So we'll see if they're going to continue to do battle. But oh, there's a bit of contact between the two. They hooked, and I think Will Ellis is going to have to give up the ghost in that one, almost cutting across number 88 of Josh Hodson. Hodson must have got a massive shock when he saw that red and white car, but that's going round. Oh, that's going to be Paul Smith for the Cracked Racing team. The 33 just dropped it on his own. I didn't see any other cars around him. And that's going to be a major, major disappointment for Paul Smith. We now look here to Nick Clibbins, who is batting away with Danny Morris. It's for 17th position is that one. Through the left-hander, trying to carry the speed. Just seeing now, Nick Clibbins is going to try and just work his way ahead through the two Arabiatas and on towards these next sequence of corners. So Pelagio on the exit, now Coranteo. Now we look back to the forefront where we see Ben Cook is trying to make a charge. He has got a big name in Craig Torlock behind him, who is trying to go for another podium here, but I don't know how easy that is going to be. With 15.5 minutes left on the clock, he's just trying to make himself a bullet down towards San Donato. Will he try a rash move up the inside in a kind of a fashion of, I need to try and get past? He's going to try and float it around the outside. He's going to have to try and pick up the throttle pedal a little bit early, but is not able to do that. Now he has a look up the inside, but again the door gets shut square in his face, and Ben Crook is going to be surviving another day. Off the road was Oliver Stone there, who now still sits at what is 2 seconds behind Josiah Annis. What is being a fantastic effort from those top two. I think he was batting away here with Raven a couple of laps ago as well. So the Dutchman is going to have to try and just push forward, because he still sits 7 tenths clear of the Briton. Who they head in toward the next sequence. That battle for 5th still rages on. Craig Tordock is going to be just asking himself, where else can I make the move? Because there's not many places here in these F4 cars where it can happen. You're just seeing him trying to hook up some of the corners and through the head through the left-hander, through the right. And look how much curb he's taking, almost half off the road, going through a pile of stones that have been left out by other drivers, trying to smoothen up the steering, trying to hook up the corner. Tordo's going to use absolutely everything, and we'll keep on board here with the Sim Racing Collective esports driver. He's in the tow, he's in the tow, he's in the tow. Now what do you do here? Because you can't now go to the inside. He's got to now go for the outside because he's gained a little bit too quickly. He's got to try and now get that overspeed, which is so difficult in these F4 cars. He's now almost a full car length ahead. But with that inside line, I think Ben Crook is just going to try and put his car there. He's got to try and get on the throttle pedal early here. Tordock is going to have the inside line, but Crook's not going to give that up now. a little bit of contact between the two, and it's going to be the exact same situation. So this could get a little bit tricky going down in towards turn number 6, because this is going to be turn 4 unless Craig Torda does get ahead, which he does. And now it's going to be an open opportunity for Tom Davidson to try and go on through and increase the points for the Sim Racing Collective. I'm sure there will be, well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people back at HQ for the Sim Racing Collective just trying to cheer on Tom Davidson, just try and pump the fists here and head their way through the right-hander. We've had an error, in fact, from Bart Raven, who is now dropped to P4. So that's going to be something we're going to note in just a minute. But there he is, behind Josiah Annis, behind Oliver Stone. So Stone's going to get another podium in this championship. That should be his 3rd of the season, if he can hold on. But Raven will now see if he can get hunted down by Craig Twardock, because they were doing very similar lap time last time around. But Raven overall quicker than Twardock, so we'll have to see how that all comes to fruition. We now see Tom Davidson try and attack the back here of Ben Crook. Will he be able to have that inside line opportunity? Because at the moment you can't quite move that right hand side because it's all full of grass. Now you get to do it because the track now opens right up. But no, he's going to choose that outside line and just try and see if he can replicate exactly what his teammate did. That's really good on the brakes here from Ben Crook. He tries to defend a position, and it is well defended, but leaves a little bit of racing room. But it does seem like Davidson will just slot in behind. I nearly called him Richardson there, so I do apologise, Tom. A very hot day right now where I am, but also here in Mugello. We're having a look at the temperatures beforehand, and it is now 50.5 degree track temperature. Those tyres are going to be shredded by the end. So that's probably why you're seeing these cars being a little bit slower compared to usual. And we see Tom Martin going through the gravel trap on the exit of turn 5 there. It's just because the track is so difficult and so hot. You know, we're looking at almost 28 degree air temperature as well, just really reflecting the Italian summer. I'm sure if there's one person who knows about Italian summers, it's Zach Sweeney, because of his trips to commentate karting. I believe it was WSK he was doing over the course of this year. So we'll have to see if Tom Davidson is now on the prowl here. He is on the prowl. Is he able to overtake here and go for an overtake on what is Ben Crook for 6th place here with just under 10 minutes to go? You see the yellow car looming ever larger. He's going to have a look to the inside line. Will he be able to go later on the brakes? No, he doesn't. He just tries to force Ben Crook into a little bit of false sense of security. But this is going to be really interesting, because 2nd to 6th is really lining up really well here. We're seeing Stone, Annis, Raven, Twardock, Crook and Davidson all separated by 3 seconds. You see in some of the cars here, that is Josiah Annis just in front as well. So yeah, 1.7 separating 3rd down to 7th. Oh, that's a moment there for Bart Raven. And if that the tyres just starting to overheat for the cracked racing driver, the Dutchman is going to start giving up a hunk of places, including Ian Ranking down there. So he's dropped to 8th, unfortunately. And Tom Davis is going to push on further. It looks like now Oliver Stone has picked his way up to 7th. Josiah Annis is holding on to 3rd, but with the time allotted, I can see Craig Twardock being able to go on by. The gap between them at the moment sits at 3.5 tenths of a second. We now latch onto Craig Twardock. We cameras pick him up, and the Sim Racing Collective Esports driver is about to now make his run down toward the long straight. This could be his third place of the season if he can overtake Josiah Annis and hold on. Oh, it looks like Josiah Annis is going to allow for Craig Tordock to go on by, unless he is going to try and potentially go around the outside, but it is just a strong braking power from Tordock. It's Josiah Annis, I think, making a little bit of an error, because he was just being that barricade down towards the first corner. If you just sit yourself right in the middle of the circuit, you've either got Tordock going to the outside, which is a long way around through San Donato, or he's going to have to now go rash and right up the inside. So I think that's just kind of learning the racecraft was Josiah Annis, and I'm sure that is going to be something that we're going to be seeing in the future. He's just going to be watching and riveting in his kind of fellow peers, being able to help him improve on that forefront. So with 7 minutes left to go, someone's going gravel dipping, and I believe that is P15 of Nick Clibbins. Wow, that was a bit of a negative bump there for Will Ellis in the red and white car for the Dogs, and I think he's allowed up the inside, the 85 here in Nick Clibbins. So yeah, drivers now starting to make mistakes. They're probably in really hot runs with PCs whirring away, just trying to cool them down. But you know, when it's still baking hot outside, you know, it's not the easiest to try and get through. There'll be a lot of sweating going on to the scenes of these sim races. They head their way now down to start lap 11 of this race here at Mugello, and Tom Davidson's now again all over the back of Ben Crook. I'd just say Crook is going to be on that inside line. Will Davidson be able to float it around the outside? He's got to just try and stick his nose in there. Through turn number 2 he goes. It's going to be a little bit boxing as well, because you can see there Josiah Annis is being a little bit of a... Oh, that could have been close to contact between Crook and Davidson. That front end of Davidson was millimeters behind that for well, the yellow card. Well, we all know it's a Ferrari, but yeah, just didn't want to kind of say that. Heading their way through the left-hander on towards the two Arabiatas. Arabiata 1 is one of those fast corner things. You straighten up through Arabiata 2. We've really got to get the turn in right through that right-hander, and on towards this right-hander through the right, and on towards the left we go of turns 12 and 13. Josiah Annis is going to have to go very defensive down towards turn number 1. He's got two very quick drivers upon him, and I think Davidson can really use this to his advantage. Less than 5 minutes left to go. So Davidson's going to have to really think about this. Ben Crook will just be thinking there's only a singular car. I'm not sure how aware he is going to be of that number 42 of Tom Davidson in behind, but making his way down towards the start-finish line they go. There at the number 11 of Oliver Stone, second in the race. Then we find Craig Tordock. Looks like Ben Crook already now ahead of Josiah Annis. And there goes Tom Davidson. So really good stuff from the both of them. But yeah, Josiah Annis just did not have an answer to them whatsoever. But now this is Tom Davidson's opportunity to get himself up into fourth. But it's the tighter inside line for Ben Crook. Now he's going to allow that opportunity to be on the inside. There's contact between the two, and he's managed to just put him pointing in the right direction. Tom Davidson's going to go and let him through. I think that's just due to contact, and just kind of saying to him, you know, that was the unfair way of doing it. But look at the front end, really damaged on Tom Davidson's F4 car. You'll just see how jagged it is. There it is. You can see all the scrapes and the cuts and the loss of debris on that one. So I wonder if that's going to lose him a couple of downforce points. It already is coming into effect as Annis is going to be all over the rear. And oh, that's a why moment there for Ben Crook. So I wonder if he's maybe slightly damaged from that encounter as well. But through they head towards the right-hander. Through the left, Tom Davidson's going to now start to try and think about making that move again. But it was good defensive driving from Ben Crook. It was great attacking driving from Davidson. But I think it was just two didn't go into one. I think that is the simple case of those two not being, just having a little bit of a moment between the two and it just not coming together. Meanwhile, Aiden Howard, who's driven a fantastic race. Yes, he was up to 13th at one stage, has dropped to 14th, but he's now having to play a defensive drive against Will Ellis here. Will Ellis has chosen that outside line, and that is a stunning overtake from the AF Biscotti car of Will Ellis. Now, Aiden Howard's going to look behind here because he's got Harry Mason in behind. Heading in towards that last corner, Will Ellis does love the high line in that sense to get a good run. See if we can just get that extra mile an hour, extra kilometre an hour down the main straight. But Aiden Howard tucked right behind the red and yellow Biscotti car. But this is going to be 3 wide down towards San Donato. Is it going to be Howard? But that's a rash move up the inside, potentially for Will Ellis. He's scared Aiden Howard's going very, very wide for the oNiD racing team. I think he's going to drop another place here to the Dogs Racing driver of Mason. I think Mason's just had to back off in that sense. Someone's had a trip through the gravel with 1.5 minutes left to go. So expect 2 laps remaining here at Mugello. This is the battle between Bart Raven, that side, to now Ray John. And I think that's Ian Rankin now just ahead. Remember, Rankin did get ahead of Bart Raven when, of course, the number 51 we're riding on board with did have his off. So that is going to be a bit of a downside here for him as Noah Osbaldson heads to the line. He's got 1 more lap left to go, so he will start the final efforts for Noah Osbaldson. He's built his lead up now to 7.7 seconds over the rest of the pack, and it's going to be our first double winner. It's been done before in Italian F4. Of course, they usually have 3 races, but it's not uncommon for drivers to go, in Italian F4 sense, 3 in a row. Harry Mason will now look up the inside and will make his way up into 15th at the expense there of Aiden Howard, who's making just a couple of mistakes here and there in this latter stage of the race. I wonder if that's just the tyres going off, because the temperature has slightly dropped, but it's down to 50 degree track temperature, which is what are we taking away, 0.5 of a degree, which is barely anything in this sense. Aiden Howard managing to go to 15th. The timer has hit 0, and we're just waiting for our drivers to now head their way on towards those last sequence of corners. I think that was Martin and I believe Howard again going through the gravel. We now look back here to Bart Raven, who might just be trying to find a way through, but that was a wide moment from Ranking, wider moment from Raven. I think Bobby Moss is going to try and invite himself into this little fight before the end of the race. I can imagine that going right toward the end. And speaking of right toward the end, Noros Balderson is going to be approaching that line very, very soon. In Italian F4, there's 3 drivers that have managed to go 3 races in a row and win all the races. Casper Schuka, Kimi Antonelli, Freddie Slater, and here in Mugello in the iR-04, it's Noah Osbaldson. It's 2 for 2 for the British driver. For the Drive Lounge Racing team, Oliver Stone comes home just shy of 8 seconds behind Noah Osbaldson, and it will be Craig Tordock taking home his 4th third place of the campaign. I cannot believe that is a stat that I'm telling this audience. That is just unbelievable. Ben Crook will be in 4th. Josiah Annis will be in 5th with Tom Davidson and Rankin it will be Raven, Moss, Richards. So ranking holding on ahead of Raven, who held on ahead of Moss. Richard will be in P10. But what absolutely phenomenal race here at Mugello. It has been superb to have all of these drivers. I think the only DNF was Will Ellis in all of that. Tom Lowe will be the last driver across the line. Yeah, but some of these drivers having a little bit difficult races. Janos Wenzel managing to recover back up to 13th after his skirmish to the gravel trap on the opening lap. So here comes Thomas Lowe across the line, and then we can bring you the full results here from the feature race of the iR-04 Championship. Round 2 is ticked and in the archive book. What a race it was. Noah Osbaldeston wins the race ahead of Oliver Stone, with Craig Twardock in third. Ben Crook will be in fourth, followed by Josiah Addis, who takes a top 5 home. He'll be your winner in the amateurs. Then it will be Ian Ranking, followed by Bart Raven. Bobby Moss will be in P8, with Alex Ridges and Josh Hodson in P10. Nick Clibbins just falls short of that top 10, with Janos Wenzel in 12th and Harry Mason in P13. Wenzel, I think, will be a little bit disappointed with his efforts tonight, but he'll look to come back in Spa-Francorchamps. Then we find Aidan Howard. Big credit to the oNiD racing driver. He comes home in P14 ahead of Thomas Martin, Paul Smith, who managed to finish 16th after his spin earlier on in the race. With Tom Davidson down in 17th, you were hoping a little bit more. Tony Preston, followed by James Radford, with Danny Morris rounding out the top 20, and then 2 more drivers in 21st and 22nd. That is going to be Thomas Lowe, and then a retirement for Will Ellis, and a retirement from Simon Norton. Well, that is going to be it. I believe we're going to be having a couple of interviews as we did last time around. So we'll be back for the interviews in just a moment's time. Welcome back to the post-round interviews for the TSRC oNiD iR-04 sprint. We've got Noah Osbalderson, got Josiah Annis, and we've got Aidan Howard coming up for you just shortly. I think I've actually just spotted in the interview waiting room Josiah Annis. I think is streaming his replays, probably having something to say about that. So he's going to be probably rudely interrupted when he gets into the interview room. But yeah, we will start in a moment with Noah Osbalderson, who had a fantastic race in both of the heats. He was just in another league compared to everyone else here. So we'll wait and see if Noah is willing to join us. Noah, welcome into the comms box. You had an absolutely superb night of racing. Let's start off with qualifying because you had 3 laps and you absolutely smashed it. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so basically qualifying, you always got to be freshly in a fresh mindset. Got to go focused. You have got to have a goal set out. So when you drive at the pit lane, you know what you're doing. And I sort of came in with a strategy with Josiah. We had a plan, and I think we just executed that plan perfectly. And again, the results kind of speak for themselves. Driveland with a double pole position, and everything just went well. It just was perfect. The lap time wasn't amazing, and I think there was definitely some more time in it. But at the end of the day, we got the goal that we set out, and that sort of led us quite nicely into race one because it sets you on that front foot. That's what qualifying does. As long as you have a clear qualifying plan, then you'll have a clear race plan. And I think that's really important going into sort of your qualifying sessions. And although you do score points in the races, if you have a poor qualifying session, it does put a negative effect on the rest of the races in the day. So we went in with a good plan. We executed the good plan. Race one also went super well. Same going in with that nice clear plan. And me and Josiah worked out quite well together, had a good lead, started to integrate a little bit of tyre saving into it because that was quite an important part of the races. Obviously, with the track temp being very, very high, I think up to 52 degrees at some point. So it was the time management and really looking after that tread of the tyre was super important. Managed to execute that quite well. P3 and 4 did catch us up a little bit towards the end, but again, I got that gap within 2 laps to go. I used everything I could on the tyre and really pushed, and that was what got me the win across the line.
Yeah, it was really, really good to see that in the opening race. Talk us through your battle with Oliver Stone because you two were pretty much going right at it in that opening race. How did it kind of come from your perspective?
Well, I was sort of expecting it because I know I've raced Oliver in the British F3 Sports Series quite a lot. I know his strength, I know his weaknesses, and going into the racing, I knew he'd be quick, and I knew he'd what his attack plans were and things. And I think having that sort of mental high ground and that knowledge high ground that comes from like the Drive Lounge Performance guys, I know going in, I have that extra confidence. I know where he's going to put his car before it's even happened, and I mean that kind of showed the results showed that I knew what was going on. He puts his car on the outside for me, the inside. I know around the outside and is an incredibly difficult move, and you know, with any sort of car around the outside at turn one at Mugello's, really never going to work. So again, he tries to do it twice, and it just didn't quite work. And that was sort of the only attacks he had was twice down the inside, around everywhere on the lap. You know, having that dirty air was a huge advantage for me in not being stuck in it. And again, I just started to pull the gap. And again, sort of race two, it was a little bit similar. But I just again picked my battles really, really cleverly. Had a really good opening few laps. I was up 3 positions by the exit of turn one, and then up another 2, 3, 10, and 11, and then picked them off one by one towards the front, and then passed my teammate Josiah, who did an absolutely fantastic job in the AM class during the day and the whole day. I think he got pole position, both wins in the clean sweep. So absolutely hats off to Josiah. He's been spending so much time with the Drive Lounge Performance guys in London and Norwich venues. So he's really deserved it. The 3 weeks of effort and training have definitely gone to work, and me being helping him is overall the team. As long as the team are happy, and overall that is what a team sport is. It's all about the racing. It's all about the strategy, the mindset, the knowledge going into the races, and the driving is the easy bit. But going in with confidence is quite hard for some drivers, and I think we really capitalised on that.
Yeah, indeed. This has been a fantastic round for you. As you say, it's been pretty much perfect from the word go. Going into Spa-Francorchamps, that's going to be a whole different challenge compared to Mugello. What are your kind of initial thoughts going into that?
Um, Spa is a very easy round because you don't need to practice because your pace means nothing at Spa. Unfortunately, in the F4 car with the physics and iRacing, you won't need to put loads and loads of hours in. If you can jump in and be within a second of the gold guy on pole, you'll do well in the races because it's complete. You know, when it comes to the final lap, if between the leader and the second gap, if anyone's got the toe and there's a car 2 tenths behind, 3 tenths behind, 3 tenths behind, 3 tenths behind, any of those four cars can win. So with Spa, it's a very different mindset of the racecraft. You've got to keep it clean. But if you can break that toe at the beginning, e.g. through accidents or careful planning of when you push and when you save the tyre, when you use the tyre, I think it could be quite a strategical race. But at the end of the day, at Spa, I always think it's very pot luck in these cars. So the preparation will be very different for that round. It'll be a lot less. But going into it, I think we're going to have the same mindset, the same plan, the same knowledge going in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can repeat the same at Spa.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And let's kind of move on to the last question. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out? I'm sure there are very obvious ones out there.
Yes, huge thank you to Drive Lounge Performance. I mean, I've been coaching the drivers like Josiah for a while now, and the preparation's been going fantastically. So they've been giving me the tools, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can carry over this training and tuition to go towards the British F4 Esports Series coming up in about a month and a half's time. So that's the end goal, really, for me going into it. Another huge thanks to sort of everyone involved with the team. You know, not just the team itself as the name, but Zach Sweeney, Wesley Bazinga, Kamal. We've all worked super hard, and the drivers are also putting in so much effort. So again, huge thanks to all the guys involved, and they've provided me with a fantastic opportunity, and I'm just glad I could deliver for them.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. Thank you very much for your time, Noah. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully, we'll be seeing you next time out in Spa.
Thank you very much.
Now, it was Balderson, then winner of pole sister in qualifying, winner in the sprint, winner in the feature, and just like that has romped himself right up into title contention. We're now just waiting for Josiah Annis, who I think has now turned off his screen share. So, welcome in, Josiah. It's been an intriguing race for you. Let's kind
Yeah.
of start right at the beginning. You had a fantastic qualifying session. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been sweating out at practice for 3 weeks, so I got advice from Noah to do one lap, like my out lap and then one push lap and then an out lap again. So I had fresh tires because the tire wear was awful. You do one lap and you're like a few tenths off the pace. So I did that one lap. I managed to set a good time, and then my second lap wasn't so good. So yeah, definitely a bit sketchy with the hot track and everything.
Indeed, and let's go on to the sprint race because that was quite the challenge. You know, you there were times where you seemingly were struggling. I'm guessing tire management was a massive part of the race. And how did you kind of find the conditions out there and just trying to get that top 10 finish?
Yeah, my whole thing was the sprint races was literally not fighting the pros because I didn't want to get involved in any incidents. And I was just minimizing the tire wear as much as I could because I mean, even at the end of the 15-minute race, it was a bit slidey. It was just all about just keeping the tires in check because once you have one big slide, then they're injured for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it must have been so difficult out there. But you did end up on pole position for the feature race. That must have been a fantastic feeling, right?
Good for position, yeah. Being ahead, like 10 places ahead of the next AM car, terrifying because all the pros are gonna come by me. But I pulled a second gap in the first lap because they were all fighting, and just they slowly came by one at a time. I was just letting them by, lifting on the straights. I did that for I don't know what was it, 13 laps. Just same thing, keeping the tires in check and everything.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was about that. And then, you know, coming across the line P5, that extends your lead in the amateur championship. What has the process been like, you know, trying to improve race after race and, you know, just getting that, you know, taking the little bits from your peers alongside you. It must be super helpful, and hopefully, I just want to say before I pass it over to you, we'll see you being ultra competitive by the end of this season.
Uh, yeah, I just plan on keeping it up, keeping the pace up and consistency up. That's part of my reason for doing this, is just trying to get as consistent as I can. I'll keep fighting to hopefully get P1 and P1 and P1 each time. That'd be nice. Yeah.
Hopefully that would be you'll be up there with your teammates. Imagine battling alongside Zach and Noah into the corners. That'll be an interesting sight, but fine.
It'll be quite funny to watch, actually, because they'll be pretty damn equal on points. So, and Noah says he's going to do the rest of the races, so we'll get to see them race, which will be chaos.
I look forward to that if it does eventually happen. But finally, is there anyone you would like to shout out?
Well, any family that's watching, Driveland Racing, because, well, they're what got me into sim racing. Zach Sweeney for coaching, and Noah as Boulderstone. He helped me in practice, let me gain some lap times. Like, I gained a few tenths of a second with a bit of help. Yeah, that's about it. And obviously TSRC for running the whole championship. Quite well,
Amazing.
really
Thanks
well
so
won.
much. Thank you very much for your time, Josiah. A pleasure with the kind words that you've been saying. We'll see you hopefully next time in Spa, and he's already disappeared. So that was very swift. But in a moment, we will bring up Aidan Howard for the oNiD Racing team. Of course, some really strong efforts. Welcome in, Aidan. What a wild set of races you've had for yourself. Talk us through kind of the first initial opening of your qualifying and your sprint race.
It was weird to be on the other end of the microphone with you, Adam. I'm not going to lie, but it's lovely to speak to you. Just for further clarity, me and Adam do work together elsewhere. It's quite a privilege to be interviewed by you, even though it's a bit weird. Yes, both races were very interesting in their own right. The sprint race was really interesting. I think I turned into someone. I think they've made a bit of a valid effort to try and get past me on the straight. I braked a little bit earlier and I got the damage. So right off sprint race, but then the 25-minute race. I did pretty much better. I think fifth in class for that one, so I'll take that. I've not been in sim for a little while, so it's good to brush off the cobwebs.
Yeah, really interesting. You mentioned that you've been away. How has it been? Trying to get back into the rig, and then also managing some of the issues throughout the race. Like you say, you had damage. A lot of the drivers out there have been complaining about tires as well. So, what was it like trying to manage the majority of this race?
I just drove the car and hoped the best, basically. I think the tyres definitely did drop off at the end of the 25 minutes. I lost a couple of positions. I was very lucky with one of those drivers I was fighting with, having a drive-through for track limits. So that was a gifted place. But yeah, the sprint race is absolutely fine. It's just unfortunate the contact, but yeah, the 25 minutes, a bit more of a challenge to keep the tyres going. But it was definitely fun. It was a little bit annoying. I managed to get down my lap times to about a 1:52.2. My quality was 1:53.5, so somehow I found a second going through the races. But yeah, what could have been, I think, is the motto for this race.
I think you succeeded in that. You went up 7 places into 14. Tell us how that race went, because we did see you a couple of times on the cameras. You were making moves, you were avoiding all of the carnage. How did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to start at the back of the grid, so I thought, I'd just drive and try and keep out of trouble and have a bit of fun at the same time. And yeah, just had some really good battles as well. Gave each other space. A couple of touches here and there that weren't horrible. These open wheels are a little bit temperamental with contact, but a couple of times there we did come a little bit close to comfort, but it was good. Fair racing from everyone. I cocked up a couple of times, but I mean, everyone else around me was absolutely fine, and yeah, it was just some good fighting. Like I said, I have a mentality of just getting my head down and just driving the car if I'm down and last of the grid or just having a bad race. So it is what it is, and yeah, good 7 places. I'll take that.
Indeed. Next up is Spa from Kashon. I really hope to see you there, because you've been an absolute star this race. But what is your kind of thoughts going into? We've had others kind of say, as long as you're within a second of the car in qualifying, is it, you're going to do well in the races because it's a little bit potluck with these cars. But I just want to kind of get your perspective of that.
You need the toe on the straights. Quite a few times, I'm just not without a toe, and cars were getting around me left, right, and centre. I was like, right, fight it in the braking zone then. But I couldn't really defend until we got to the brakes. And yeah, you need someone to help you along with the toe and maybe a bit of slipstream buddies, let's say.
Indeed, so Sparta's going to be a really, really interesting one. But finally, Aiden, is there anyone you would like to shout out before we head off the stream?
Just all the folks at oNiD Racing. We're in partnership with TSRC for this championship. I know it's been delayed a little bit, but with football and iRacing doing iRacing. And yeah, it's been good to be back. It's good to get back in the sim, get a bit used to things again, and yeah, look forward to Spa next week.
Well, Aiden, it's been a pleasure to have you on this side of the commentary box, and all the best. I hope to see you. Do you want to do a quick Arnie impression before you leave? That could be the last thing we do.
Just a wonderful quick story for all those folks. I also do production with Adam on another Discord community for another esports team, and I always do the cameras and I always do my Arnie impression. So I'm going to say, yeah, it was a good race, yeah. There you go.
Amazing. Go and enjoy your evening, then, Aiden, and we'll catch you next time out.
Yeah, I'll do Spa next week. Yeah. Right, I'm going to stop now. Good night.
An absolutely amazing way to end. It's really like that old friend you haven't seen at work for like a week, and you just, or maybe in like college or something, an old friend you haven't seen for a while, and you just start to have a little bit of fun with them, and just be goofy with each other. But that is exactly the personality that Aiden carries with him, and it's absolutely amazing to see. But other than that, let's go back to the calendar, because we have now completed 2 rounds, as we have done Stetson, Mugello. When we head to our 3rd round of the championship, the 3rd leg in the European Tour, we head to Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, the 7-kilometer circuit, before we then head to North America for the Virginia International Raceway. A lot of interest surrounding that race. I'm really looking forward to going there. Then we'll head to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve for 1 race, before we will then hop servers and go into Suzuka. This is going to be a superb season, and you don't want to miss it here on the Sim Racing Collective. You can check out down in the description where you can be supportive of our affiliate links to ABRUZZI. You can buy all their boots, gloves, and hardware. You can also join our socials, as well as join the Discord and race with some of these incredible drivers that we have in the server. And you can also see what championships we have. I'll also give you a little bit of a tease. We do have a 4-hour race at Brands Hatch in Mazda, so that should be absolutely swell. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. But from myself and everyone here at the Sim Racing Collective, we'll see you in 7 days' time when we head to the absolute mother of all racing circuits. It's the full 7 kilometers of Spa-Francorchamps. We'll see you in a week's time. Take care. Good night.